Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Sounds of the Diaspora, artist to artist conversation with yours truly, Dion Parson. I'm really excited tonight to have our guest joining us because he's a dear friend of mine, someone I've known for over 30 years, almost 30 years. We met in New York City, and he's doing amazing things, amazing musician, pianist, composer, educator, producer. Please join me in welcoming to Sounds of the Diaspora, Mr. Carlton Holmes.
All right. Hello, everyone.
Hey.
30 years. Has it been that long?
it's been a while.
We were just kids then.
Yeah, we still are.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Right on.
How you doing today?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Good to be here. Excited.
Great. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I see I'm at the University of Virgin Islands, and I see you're in St. Thomas, huh?
I am in St. Thomas, yes. This is my my third year teaching at the University of the Virgin Islands in St. Thomas.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us here in the Virgin Islands.
Right.
We met in the 90s in New York City, and we've been able to make a lot of music together. So, but tonight the show is really about you and your story. And so tell our audience, Carlton Holmes, how did you get started in music?
Well, first of all, I think I remember those days in New York, and I think it was somewhere in the Village, and I saw you play before we met.
Okay.
And I didn't know who you were, but I was like, I'm listening. And it's just funny how things came together. We had people in common, and then we were introduced, and then we had started playing music. But I was like, oh yeah, I remember that brother. He was playing. Yeah, it sounded good,
Yeah. Yeah. Back then, everybody was out doing their thing, on the move, playing every night. And that was a beautiful time. That was a beautiful time. In the early 90s, I came to New York in 1990. So when did you get to New York?
I came in 86.
86. So you got there before me, yeah.
Yes. I came in 86, and I went to the Manhattan School of Music.
Okay.
I did my degree there. And I knew that was the right move for me. I was in music. I was in school, and to stay in school. And my goal at that time was to go to school, but also to go on the street, try to check out the music, listen to what was happening. And there was a lot happening.
Mm-hmm.
And it was still true in the 90s, but in the 80s, New York was still quite sketchy. Sketchy, just classic.
42nd was 42nd Street. It's not the way it is.
42nd Street was 42nd Street.
Yeah, 42nd Street now is a tourist attraction, but back then
Disneyland. It's crazy.
Disneyland, yeah. But back then it was 42nd Street was, you had to be there for a reason, and everybody, if you was going to 42nd Street, they knew why you were there.
One thing I remember at Times Square in that area was all kinds of stuff going on. And there used to be these firewalker sessions, just in the street. It was a bed of coals. And I guess it was a group of people that would get in a certain state, and can you walk across the coals?
Right.
Red hot coals. But they would just be laid out on the sidewalk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was not happening. It was a bunch of bucket drummers. I remember coming to the city. Yeah. There was like just a number of bucket drummers just playing that was before Savion Glover brought out bringing the noise, bringing the funk, and he took those street drums, some of those street drummers for the show. That was a big thing, yeah. But it was a whole bunch of clubs, man. Fat Tuesday, Carlos One, Angry Squire, Sweet Basil. I mean, of course, the Blue Note, Michel's. Oh man, there was so many places you can go and just hear the music, and they all had sessions. And then when all of that was over, then you can go to Bradley's and hang out till when you was ready to leave the next morning.
Bradley's was my favorite spot, but I was just a student. And but the doorman, they took a look at me and this kid, he's serious about the music. Okay, we'll let him in, you know. And but inevitably what would happen, I would see these great pianists. First of all, they had a fine piano. If you didn't know this club, Bradley's in New York, it was downtown. And it was a beautiful spot, beautiful piano. And they explicitly said, we're beginning to start the set. Be quiet. If you cannot be quiet, you will be asked to leave. And they were serious. If someone tried to have a conversation, the music has started, get out. And but what happened is I would see pianists like Tommy Flanagan, I remember, or John Hicks, Kenny Barron. These are all were fantastic pianists, and it would just blow my mind. You know, I would be so blown away. I would go home, I would practice all night, trying to figure out the little thing I just heard. And
that's great. I mean, it was back then, like just hanging out, like you said, being in the streets, going to the clubs. That was a part of the education. It's like you went to college, you went to school to get the information, but then you went to the clubs to just really see the reality of it, like how it came together. It was so amazing because we got both ends. I was at in New Jersey at Rutgers. I went there from 85 to 90. That's when I moved to New York. But on various weekends, I would go to the city and do the same thing. Just go from club to club and just be amazed in the music that was happening. But you got embedded in the music very early because once you left Manhattan School of Music, you had relationships in place. You was playing with the great Charli Persip. You were playing with him, and so you are already on the scene. Once you got on the scene, that puts you in a whole other light with the other musicians, because if you was playing with somebody like Charli Persip, you was already recognized as someone that can handle themselves.
Yeah, Charli Persip was fantastic and a great artist to play with, and a great education into the real deal, real connection. He had his history, which he brought to the band, and he let you know if you were not handling it correctly. And one thing I liked is he loved big band. It was a big band. There was a lot of music to read and to play. And then bam, drum solo. And he would solo on the drums and he would come back in time. But he wasn't doing a 1, 2, 3, and 4. He did what he wanted. And then people would lose count because he was just going, it seemed to be crazy, but it wasn't crazy. And so it's like, it's not the drummer's responsibility to keep time. It's your responsibility. I'm keeping time and I'm doing my solo. I was like, oh, wow. But we had a very tight rhythm section because we had it figured out. It was me, Charli Persip, Leon Dorsey. And and a lot of cats would come into town, come through that band. And that was a great time.
And the beautiful thing about that time, it was a learning experience. I mean, at that time, you went through that apprenticeship with Charli Persip, which set you up for other things and opened up many other doors. And I actually met you. When I met you, you were performing with Michael Carvin. And that was a segue into that, and that opened up a lot of other doors as well. And Michael, as we know, is master drummer. He just a force to be reckoned with. That he got brought to the scene as an educator, as a drummer, as a musician, as a producer.
Many things. And I met. I'm smiling because I met Michael Carvin soon after that, a couple of years E.J. Allen, the trumpet player. You know E.J., I think.
Mm-hmm.
He was also in the Charli Persip band from time to time, and he recommended me to Michael Carvin, who
Okay.
I didn't know who that was yet, and EJ said, "Carlton, I gave your number to Michael Carvin. He's going to give you a call." And so Michael called me. He's like, "Yes." He was very polite, I remember. And I have a tour in Europe. We'll be in Istanbul for 6 weeks. And I was like, "Oh, well, let me think about it, because I have one gig in New York. Let me call you back." Because I was very serious about, and I still am very serious about, my commitments that I make professionally. And then I think it was Charlie himself. It's like, "Come on, man."
Mm-hmm.
We had 6 weeks of international work. You can sub out the one gig.
Right.
And so we did some rehearsals, I believe. And then it was 6 weeks of playing every night. And Michael Carvin is a musical force to be dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just amazing.
Yeah, we know that. We know, and at that time, I'm sure it was a great opportunity for you at that age to learn and apprentice in a setting, because that's something we talk about coming up. Musicians used to say to me, older musicians say, "Hey man, you need to be an apprenticeship. You need to go play with this person and figure these things out, and then you could, progress to the next group." And that's something that a lot of the younger musicians don't talk about. They just say, "Hey, I got a gig," but they don't realize that it's a process in building something with someone, working on a specific sound, technique, concept, and then that takes you to the next level. So you came out of that situation with Michael Carvin, playing with him, and you weren't only just a pianist. You wrote music, you did arrangements, you produced stuff. So can you share about how the relationship developed?
Well, I was always doing that, I guess, in a sense. And then as I got to know specifically with Michael Carvin, we would collaborate on different projects together. Different vocalists would come and ask Michael Carvin to produce, and so I could assist. I did arrangements, and so it was really a collaborative thing a lot of times to put this music together. But when I was young, before New York, as I was growing up and even starting music, I would write music. I would write little things. My father also played played guitar. He's a musician. And he had a band that I used to, when I was old enough, I would go hang out. When my playing was up to par, I kind of joined the band. And then I started to write for the band, and they would play my stuff. And so I had some experience in a way that I took for granted, but I was happy to do that. I love doing that. And in fact, I'm kind of looking for some of those old tunes. I remember some of them were effective in the time. Now this is early 80s, late 70s even.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole different thing. But it's somewhere. I wrote it down, everything, all that stuff.
Well,
it was just a continuation of that.
You'll find those tunes at some point and go back and update them to what you're hearing now and what you're bringing to the table now. But one of the things I remember about working with you in New York and collaborating with you, you always had some very, very interesting projects. One of the things I remember doing, Langston in Harlem, you did some off-Broadway composition for presentations and stuff like that. Can you talk about that? Expand on that.
Langston in Harlem. I don't remember what I did for that.
You don't?
I don't remember that one.
Oh, you don't remember that one?
No.
No?
Did I
Okay.
write music for it?
Yes.
Oh, really?
It was an off-Broadway show that we did, but we'll get back to that.
Oh, yes, that's right. That happened so fast
Mm-hmm.
to me. That happened so fast. And it was... and then we went into the studio and all this stuff, and then all these.
It was a quick run. It was a quick run, but pretty intense because it was a couple of weeks, like nonstop.
That's right. That was right, and that was a showcase. It was Walter Marks, and Walter Marks was developing this project that he wanted to do, Langston in Harlem, and. Now, Walter Marks is already successful in Broadway. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he was a producer for Jesus Christ Superstar.
Okay.
Which was a huge Broadway movie, became all kinds of things in the early 70s, I believe. And, but yeah, that happened so fast. And can you put this together? And then in a couple of weeks, we recorded, and then it was done.
Right. But that was one of the many projects that we did together. And I know you were touring with a number of musicians. You've had relationships with Lionel Hampton, Max Roach, and of course Charli Persip and Michael Carvin, Regina Belle. You spent some time with Regina, yeah. So and you were doing arrangements and stuff for her as well, right?
Well, no, not so much. I did submit some arrangements, but usually her arrangements were out of the studio. You know, she was already a pop artist, already had the hits. So for me, that was really an experience into the pop artist R&B format and scene. And it was different than the American jazz scene, touring with Michael Carvin in an acoustic setting. So it was a lot of fun, and the music was very tight, very highly arranged.
Mm-hmm.
So really getting into the electronic keyboard, and it was very interesting. I loved it.
But your roots is really in jazz. That's like your home. You just love it.
It is, yeah.
Great. So let's talk real briefly about education, because I've known you to be a teacher as well, and we've actually, both you and I have had a relationship with Gloria Denard, Kenwood Denard's mother, and she was the person behind Manor House on 106th Street. Yeah. And both worked there, and I've met you there. As a matter of fact, that was something that was like a staple for both you and I, just teaching out of Manor House. And you did that for many, many years. So
I did.
Education real quick, and how important is that to you?
I think it's very important to me. I mean, Manor House, the mission of Manor House was to provide professional music lessons to a neighborhood that may not otherwise have that available to them. And I believed in that mission. I liked sharing music for those who were interested. And so I was there for many years, and I still feel that way. If you are interested in music, I'm happy to have a conversation or to share what I know. And it's not an easy road, sharing this knowledge and even receiving the knowledge of how music might work or a certain rhythm. And it takes time, it takes a lifetime to get it all together.
Great. So I know in this day and time, there's a lot of performing musicians that still teach, and it's kind of balance out their worlds. I mean, do you feel right now that you're in a good place and where you are and the things you've accomplished, being a performer, composer, producer, educator?
I do. I mean, I think, beginning from that first tour, which we talked about with Michael Carvin, and 6 weeks playing every night. I mean, it was great. And then that was not the first time and not the first artist. It's not the first every night playing great music somewhere in the world, going to some beautiful city that you don't even get to see, but you were there and you played a great concert for hundreds or dozens or thousands of people, depending on the situation. And, I'm happy to be, right now, I'm mostly teaching, at least right now. And I'm still performing, but I'm very happy about that.
That's good. That it takes a minute for musicians to get to that point where they've accomplished so many things, but they're comfortable passing that knowledge on, and it's a process. And thank you for sharing that with us. You've recorded a CD, and you, me, and I, and you shared with us some of the tracks from that CD, and I wanted to kind of jump into that so the audience can check out, some of your work.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a song entitled "Theme of Ginger's Rise." Theme of Ginger's Rise, which is a very unique title. Tell us about that.
Theme to Ginger's Rise. It is the theme to a film. Mm-hmm. And I was asked to score a film. My friend produced a film. And now he's, I'm not sure what he's doing, but he's still in Hollywood, writing scripts, and he's in the Hollywood scene. And so this was his first production. And came to me, can we help me put music together and write some music? It's like, I would be so happy to do. So we did the music, and this is the theme. And it was scored differently, but it's like, this works as a quartet, as a trio. And it was recorded a couple of times. I think I recorded it twice with Cindy Blackman, and then, of course, on my own CD. Mm. So this is the theme to the movie Ginger's Rise.
Let's check it out.
Yeah.
That was so beautiful. See the comment in there? It says beautiful, smooth, and soothing.
Oh, thank you.
Hmm.
Yeah, thank you for that.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Who's the personnel on that?
On drums, that was Donald Edwards.
Okay.
And bass is Yasushi Nakamura.
Nice.
And they're both doing great things. And I haven't seen them in a long time. I remember on that session, Donald was sick. But man, he played fantastic.
He doesn't sound sick at all.
Yeah, he plays just. But then he was just like, "Yo, just leave me alone. I'm not, take. Oh, you ready? Bam!" And he played everything, outtakes and everything. He was on point.
That's great, man. It started off with a really nice, like Elvinish introduction into this nice 8-note feel. Two different vibes for the same song, but then it built in this really beautiful vamp, man. That's nice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's the original composition.
That's the original composition. That was the theme, and of course for the film, I wrote a bunch of music, different whatever they needed. But this one is like, this could work as a trio, and then again, like you mentioned, as a quartet, and so explored it a few times.
What year was this?
I think it came out in 2012. Maybe we went in the studio 2010, something like that. I don't remember exactly. Around that time.
Nice. No, this is beautiful. I enjoyed it. Beautiful playing. It's a great song. It's very it's like I said, beautiful, smooth, and soothing. I don't know if you can see the comments, but so I'm sitting back here enjoying it myself. Like, okay,
all right. Yeah,
nice glass of wine with your significant other and just enjoying the music. Yeah. So as a composer, I know some folks they have concepts and stuff when they write. And so what was your inspiration for this song?
Well, I had to set the tone for the character in the film, and it was sort of a psychological hero arc, a reluctant hero. And so I wanted to express that, some of that through the motion of the chords. So the middle section is quite tense, and then it resolves into sort of a heroic harmonic motion. So that's kind of the elements I was looking at. And like with most things, you start with an idea and then some small pieces, a couple of notes that move well together, and I built up off of that and found something that I thought was working pretty well. I think it works pretty well.
It works very well. From where I'm sitting, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. It's great. So everybody have different concept of for the creative format. So that's good to know. So you call the CD "You, Me, and I." Is that a concept behind that?
No, not really. It's almost a play on words because I wrote a song called "You, Me, and I."
Okay.
And so it's just a play on the words, really. So no deep meaning. No, maybe I should find some. Maybe I should answer like.
Yeah, okay, it's like yes, yeah. Maybe you should.
You, me, and I. Well, anyway, it's whatever you think it is.
Okay, so you wrote a song called "You, Me, and I," and that's on this CD as well.
Right.
And it's a nice presentation. So let's check that out. "You, Me, and I."
Okay. All right.
So that was You, Me, and I.
You, Me, and I.
And that's the same rhythm section.
Yeah, this is from that same recording. Yasushi Nakamura on bass, Donald Edwards on drums.
That's great.
And, that tune was, I wrote that for my, well, I was on tour in Japan with Terumasa Hino and Michael Carvin. If you don't know, Terumasa Hino is a great trumpet player and very famous in Japan. And he was living in New York, and he asked us to join his band, and we went on tour. So long story short, Yumi was his road manager. And this was my first time to Japan. Japan is a truly beautiful place. And she saw I was interested. She took me to some of the temples in Kyoto and kind of gave me the insight to what's going on, you know, and really showed me the beautiful side of Japan. So it was the least I could do is like I wrote this song and dedicated to you, you know, and thank you for showing me that. So that's Yumi and Yumi and I.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, one of our audience members made a comment: relaxing, calm, stress relieving. The slow bluesy melodies and improvisational solos reduce my day's anxiety. So it's affecting others.
Yeah, that's the power of music. And yes, thank you very much.
That's the power of music. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful song, and it's a great trio that you have. I know all those musicians personally, and they did a great job accompanying you and making the music come to life. So I'm really enjoying this, man. I'd like to continue with another composition that you have called My Isa. My Isa.
Okay, yeah. This is a piece I wrote. I remember this was the 6 weeks with Michael Carvin on the road. We were actually in Istanbul, and it was a very interesting time. This was just before the first Gulf War.
Okay.
So the history was going on at the time. And but anyway, we were there playing every night, and so I wrote this song over there. And I met a friend over there, and her name translates as my Aisha or my Isha.
Yeah.
And so I just dedicated it to this person.
Okay, let's check it out.
All right.
So that's so unique that you end with a drum solo, huh?
Yeah. And I love it. I haven't heard it in a long time, but I still love it.
It
You know,
brings
it's
a.
kind of,
Go ahead.
I mean, just about, it's kind of an etude. It's sort of a cycle of harmonies and this space of rhythm that intrigued me for a number of years. And now that I listened again, I remembered that the melody was originally in the bass.
Okay.
Bass melody. So it's not, but then it kind of developed into this sort of kind of meditative circle of music and rhythm. And so I wanted to try to do something with that. So it still tickles me today.
Oh man, this is great. I just love how it built and the different nuances, because it's like it became like a piano solo, trading drums, and then eventually the drums took over and it just, accelerated to the end.
Right. And I just wanted to try to expand away from the usual format of what we hear often and what works often. So something different than that.
It's very different, but very, very nice. I enjoyed it. So is my Isha or my Aisha?
I say my Aisha.
My Aisha.
But it might be Isha because I don't remember. This was a long time ago.
Okay.
I say my Aisha, I think.
Check it out. You, Me, and I, recording by Carlton Holmes. That was my Aisha. And we're going to continue. Let's continue. You have another composition entitled Soul Sanctuary.
Oh, okay. Yeah. This was another but sort of a meditative arrangement of harmonies. Composition that seemed to compositionally work together. I actually don't know quite how I came up with this. I almost feel like it's some random chords that work together, and I managed to document it, and it became this tune.
Okay.
Well, but hopefully, tell me what you think. I hope you like it. I like it.
Soul Sanctuary. Let's check it out.
Yeah.
You find interesting about that song, Soul Sanctuary. So, like when you hear the title of a song, you kind of, well, for me, I try to start to imagine what it would sound like. I would have never thought of being 3/4.
Hmm.
I would have never thought of being 3/4. And it started off really, really sparse, but then it built into this nice,
Yeah.
this nice, like kind of Afrocentric 6/8 kind of groove that had
Yeah.
a, yeah. It's a deceptive title, but it brings a whole nother vibe to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I,
It's still even to myself. There's still a question mark about what it is about,
mhm,
how it came about.
mhm.
But
No, it's a powerful song. It builds. It has a very earthy, Afrocentric,
mm,
Afro-Caribbean, Afro diasporic vibe on it, but it opens up very eclectic,
yeah.
almost avant-garde-ish, like, and then it builds into this.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think I was curious a little bit. It's sort of an Arabic scale
right,
within the melody. So I
right.
think I was exploring that and some aspects of that content
Hmm.
to
No,
create it.
it's great. It's great. It's like I said, it's very deceptive. It's very
Mm.
deceptive in the title. Again, it's just me. It's one of my things that I do when I hear a song title. I
Yes.
try to picture it, and the music took me on a different journey. It was very, very serene, and but it's soul sanctuary. I have to connect that. I got to hear it again.
All right. Right on.
Hear it again.
Well, we have
Yeah.
to play it sometime.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would
Let's
love
play it
to.
sometime. Yeah.
I think that might help. That might help.
All right. Yeah, we'll get together.
So these are all originals that you've written, but one of the things I've always admired about you is that you have a knack for arranging songs on a whole nother level. And I know in our collaboration, you've surprised me with some of the arrangements that you've come up with. And if you don't mind, I would like to share
Ooh, yeah.
one of my favorites with the audience before we have time for one more. I'd like to share one of my favorite arrangements that you have done. Um, and this piece is a Johann Sebastian composition entitled "Air on a G String," and this is something that you arranged for the 21st Century Band, and we've been playing it for many many years. But to this day, I still have to sit back and appreciate it because you did something that I would have never expect. While well,
Mhm.
let's hear it. Air on a G String, arranged by Carlton Holmes.
Wow.
Oh man, that's air and a G string. So you did the arrangement. We don't have
Yeah,
much. I have to
I
play
know,
that.
but thank you for saying that. But I just want to say that was the 21st century band, and as a group, they made it come together and individualized and cleaned it up, and so it's great to be part of that band and having that piece come together.
Yeah, well, you wrote it out. So I mean, we have a lot to talk about. We're out of time. It's such a joy to have you on the show, catch up with you, hear some of the wonderful things you're doing. I know you have more under your belt. We haven't even talked about your future projects and stuff like that. So we definitely have to follow up and have you back and share with our audience the great things that you're doing. But thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us tonight.
Sure, and I'd love to. I had a ball. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. Carlton Holmes, ladies and gentlemen, great musician, great human being. So we'll have to follow up with him. But in the meantime, I would like to invite you to join us next week as we bring to the stage another wonderful artist, and we look forward to having them here with us. So join us as we bring Mr. Paquito de Rivera to the stage, our Sounds of the Diaspora, for next week. All right, take care. See you soon.
JBH Boutique Care offers you a unique exclusive membership in our nationwide concierge medical services network. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Judine Bontemps-Hill. I'm double board certified in family and obesity medicine. We pair exclusive personalized care with accessibility and convenience. A better way for you to receive immediate quality medical care. Whether at our main Orlando, Florida office, traveling across the U.S. or visiting the States, we bring you the best medical care without waiting for an appointment. Become a member today by calling 407-234-5282 or visit us online at jdhmed1.com. JBH Boutique Care is proud to sponsor Sounds of the Diaspora, music and conversations with artists, and host Dion Parson every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Source TV Radio Network, WTSN, Washington, D.C.